Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're going to Masechtas Gittin daf Nun Hey. We are going to begin on Nun Hey Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top by the new Mishnah. Says the Masnisin, Hayed Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada testified on the following situation: Al ha-chereshas, regarding a deaf mute girl, shehesiya avia, that her father married her off, she yotza beget, that when she gets divorced, you can still give her a get. Says Rashi, what is the chiddush? Diafagav, the kabul avia kedushin dida. Even though her father was makabel her kedushin kashi katana while she was still a minor, nonetheless v'hadila eshes ish gemura. Doesn't matter that she's a katana. It's totally on the father that did the kedushin. And since the father was involved, it's an absolute marriage. Nonetheless, she can leave with a get, says gita, and she could accept her get, even though this girl was a chereshas, she doesn't have das. The isha kinafka bal karcha nafka. The chiddush is that when a woman gets divorced, it's even against her will. Hilkach lo bin and daita. Therefore, you don't need her consent. That's the first thing that he testified. And then the Mishnah continues, V'al katana bas Yisrael, if you have a katana who is the daughter of Yisrael, shenises l'kohen, and she's married to a kohen, shochelos b'truma, she's allowed to eat truma. Now Rashi says, v'yisaima, the lo yahavin nisuin el midrabanan. This is where the father did not marry her off because she didn't have a father. Her father had died. So there's a din d'Rabbanan that the mother or her older brother can marry her off, but that's only considered to be a kedushin d'Rabbanan. So the question is, do we allow her to eat truma? The answer is yes. We allow her to be able to eat this, eat truma while she's married to this kohen. V'mesa, and let's say if she dies, bal yorsha, we say that her husband will also inherit her. And then another thing that was testified was vel hamorish, hagazel, shabana babira. Let's say a person has this bias gadol, Rashi says, this large home, and he stole a beam, and it's a supporting beam. And then he decides, you know what, I feel terrible, I really should return this beam. The problem is, by returning the beam that he stole, the whole house would fall apart, and he would lose $1 million. So maybe in that situation, a person's going to be like, forget it, I'm not going to do tshuva. So the din is, shitalas damim tekanas hashavim. The Mishnah tells us this great chiddush, because of tekanas hashavim, we want people to do tshuva, so therefore because of that, he doesn't have to return the beam, he can keep it, however, he has to pay the value of the beam. Says Rashi, shimata matzricho, litkakeya birasa, if you have to knock down your house, and return the beam, yimannem lasos tshuva. A person may not do tshuva. And then finally the Mishnah says, V'al hagazula, if you have a karm chatas that was stolen, shaloi nadal rabbi, but it wasn't something that was publicized that it was stolen, shima chaperas. That's considered to be a kapara. You don't have to bring another carbon. I mean, tikkun hamizbeach. What does that mean? So Rashi says it's going to be explained in the Gemara exactly what exactly is this tikkun hamizbeach. Says the Gemara. So Amar Rava, me'edusel Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada, based on the testimony of Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada, we can learn that Amar le'edim, if you say to witnesses, says Rashi, shalom b'faneha, not in front of you, ra'u get zeh, I saw this get, because of Amar la nichsi shtar chayiv zeh, v'lo hodiyah shu get. So let's actually just look, it's better to just look in the Gemara over here. So if you said to witnesses, ra'u get zeh shani naisin la, I see this get that I've given to her, because of Amar la, and then you go and you say to your wife, kinsi shtar chayiv zeh, that this is a shtar chayiv, but it's really a get, harizuma garashas. The din is, it is a divorce. So even though, again, when you spoke to the Adim, you said that this is a get. However, when you spoke to your wife, you basically said that it's ishtar chov. So we say that it's megureshes, that probably, in fact, what you said to the Edom was what was true. After all, we don't even need her consent. And therefore, it doesn't make any difference what you said to her. Even if you said that it's a shtar chov, or whatever you said, but the reality is you're giving her a get. So therefore, even though she doesn't understand, the reality is it's not necessary. As long as the Edom knew that it was a get, and in fact it was, even though it's true that the woman doesn't know anything about it, or she has no das, it works. So so too, you don't need das. As we see in our Mishnah, when it comes to chereshes, the fact that her father married her off, you can give her a get. Since you said this unusual language, talking about a shtar chov, so maybe you would think the original words are batal, and it's not a get. The truth is, if you would have changed your mind or anything else, you would have notified these witnesses as such. And the fact that you only said it this way is because you felt a little bit embarrassed. You felt uncomfortable actually giving the get, which you did, but you just didn't want to really admit to it or say it. So therefore you talked about, oh yeah, this is some type of a chov. Okay, back in the Gemara. V'al katana bas Yisrael. So if you have a katana who was married off midrabanan, because not by the father, because she was the Yisoma, she could still eat truma. So in this Gemara it says, V'ilu chereshes lo. But let's say we're dealing with a chereshes, a deaf-mute girl who marries a kohen. So in that situation, l'chari, you will not be able to eat. Because why does the Mishnah started talking about a chereshes, all of a sudden it shifts to a case of just a katana? It must be coming to tell you that if her father, if the deaf-mute girl was not married off by the father, and she was married to a kohen, she would not be able to eat the truma. So what's the difference? So my time, we're concerned that maybe the cheresh, the husband is a kohen, and since it's not a full-fledged marriage and it's only midrabanan, so she cannot eat a truma d'oraisa. So v'leichel, so let her eat. So let them eat. Katan oichel naveilsu. It's comparable to just a case of katan oichel naveils. So why are we concerned about that? So gezer shemayachel cherish bepikachas. We're actually concerned not of the situation of oichel, of a katan oichel naveils, but we're concerned of a pikachas. So let's look in Rashi. Gezer shemayachel cherish kohen shin kinyanu kinyan. We're concerned that maybe a cherish will end up eating the truma, and it's not a kinyan. Bebikachas. So we said we're talking about a pekeach. Shemuz heres al ha'isr, who is warned against this isr of eating truma. Hilkach. Gozer pikeach b'chereshas. We're gozer a pikeach who marries a chereshes mishum cheresh bebikachas, because of a situation of a deaf man who marries a pikachas, which would not be, again, a full-fledged marriage. Of a gadol b'katana, if we're dealing with an adult marrying a katana, leikla migzar mishum katan b'gedolah. We're not concerned. The katan leis lein nesuin, because a katan there's no marriage if he'll ben rabbanan. In other words, a katan cannot marry a woman, right? A gadol can marry a katana, but a katan there's no kedushin even to rabbanan, as it's brought down in Masechtas Yevamos. That if a katan does marriage, and then let's say subsequently that katan dies, his brother doesn't do yibum, he doesn't even do chalitza, it's nothing. So when it comes to a katan, there's no reason to be geyser to make a mistake and think, oh, you know what, we shouldn't allow a katana to eat truma because, and she marries a gadol, because what happens which is allowed, is because what happens when it comes to a katan who marries a gadola? Well, that's nothing. So you're not going to be concerned about that. However, in this situation, when it comes to a situation of a cherish to a pikachas, it's possible that they could get confused. And therefore, for that reason, that's why we make this distinction. Question 13. Maishna nesuya chereshes. L'koyin, what's the difference between marrying a chereshes to a kohen as opposed to marrying just a regular katana to a kohen? What's the difference between a chereshes? And the chereshes, by the way, doesn't mean necessarily she's a katana. Okay? Lav dafka. Maybe it is, maybe not. So the zu ochelos b'truma, the zu eno ochelos b'truma. So why, when it comes to, actually, again, the ratio of the chereshes, that she marries a kohen, that it's good. However, when it comes to a katana, Minasui katana kohen, that she cannot. So this is how we explain it like this. Cherish, when it comes to a deaf mute, the tekinuli kedushin midurabanan, that we said that is actually, there is a kedushin durabanan. A cherish could get married. Gazrinan atu cherish bebikachas. So a geyser, when it comes to a cherish who marries a pikachas. So because even though it's true, we say a cherish can get married, an adult man who again cannot hear or speak. So that's, in essence, that is all. It's not a full-fledged marriage. It's only a kedushin d'Rabbanan. By when it comes to an adult cherish male. Okay, so therefore that's the reason why she cannot eat truma d'Rabbanan when we're dealing with that situation. So that's when we're talking about a cherish. However, katan d'lo tekinu kedushin b'shum makim. When it comes to a katan, there is no such thing as kedushin at all. Lo gazrinan be'atu katan she's a gedolah. So we're not going to be geyser a katan who marries a gedolah because it doesn't happen. So therefore, we don't have to be geyser when it comes to a katan and a gedolah. However, when it comes to a case of a cherish, there we are concerned because taka, it is a kedushin, but it's only kedushin d'Rabbanan. And since it's only kedushin d'Rabbanan, so therefore midoraisa they're not allowed to eat the truma. All right, let's look at question TB24. I only got this half right. Kohen shenasa bas Yisrael yisaima katana. Kohen who marries a bas Yisrael who doesn't have a father as a katana, or a chereshes himachil b'truma madua. So, in the event where a Kohen marries a katana, which again is only kedusha d'Rabbanan, she kedusha d'Rabbanan, machil b'truma d'Rabbanan. You're allowed to eat truma d'Rabbanan. Chereshes, however, when he marries a chereshes girl, lo machil, we will not allow it because they're atu cherish. We don't allow the Kohen for the girl who's a chereshes to eat truma because we're concerned atu cherish nas pikachas, the other way around. That if a cherish man, which is a kedushin d'Rabbanan, right, which is a kedushin d'Rabbanan, we don't want this to is more of an issue because if a cherish marries a pikachas, the pikachas, who's a bas Yisrael, cannot eat truma d'oraisa because the whole kedusha is only kedusha d'Rabbanan. Okay. Weiter. Actually, we're not up to that yet. So you have this beam. So you don't have to remove it. But it's actually machlokas. Let's say a person stole this beam and it's in your house. No, you do have to dismantle your entire house to return this beam. No, you only have to give back the value. So as we said, in the event where you bring a carbon, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to bring another one. It's a kapara because it's not publicized. So now we actually have two opinions. The truth is, if it's publicized, and even if it's not publicized, that people don't know the status about this, either situation really should not be a kapara. My time a yish kedi loy kani, because this guy really doesn't own it. It's only yish. Yish alone is not enough of a kin. Is not a kinyan. You need some type. You need a shin rishus after yish. So this yish doesn't mean anything. So this guy really technically doesn't own this animal, and therefore, of course, it shouldn't be a kapara midaraisa. However, nonetheless, if no one knows about it, it's not publicized, it's a kapara. Why? Shalihi kohanim atzevim. We don't want the kohanim to get upset. Why would they be upset? So Rashi says, because all of a sudden they are going to realize that they ended up eating from a carbon in which is which was stolen, and therefore they ended up eating. It was really not a carbon; it was chulin shenishchatu ba'azara, and they ate from such a thing. It would make them feel horrible to know that this is the situation. So therefore, we say better that they don't know about it than let them eat it, and we'll say it's a kapara. Okay, that is one point. Amri lo rabban le'ula avanan memnei tikkun mizbeach tanan. It says because of the mizbeach. What does that have to do with that? It has to do with the kohanim, not the mizbeach. So Amlohen kivan the kohanim atzevim, because since they're going to be upset about it, nimsa mizbeach batal. They're not going to want to do the avoda anymore. They're like, I'm trying to do the right thing, and all of a sudden now I ended up sinning because this guy stole this animal. So we'll stop bringing karbanos. Rav Yehuda Amir. Actually, pumfakert. Either way, even if everyone knows about it, it really is a kapara. My time yish kadi kani, because this guy really now is the owner, because yish alone is the king. You don't need shinu rishos as we continue in hand bebeis. So that's the case. Matal mamar nadu ena mechaperes. So how come if it's publicized we say it's not a kapara? We don't want people to start speaking negatively about the Beis HaMikdash and saying, oh yeah, we're bringing karbanos, which are stolen. It doesn't have a good rep. It's not good. So Bishlam Ula, I understand Ula, Dahainu Chatas. That's the reason why it says a Chatas Davka, because that's something which a Kohen can eat, not an Ola, which is completely consumed. So the Kohanim aren't going to be upset about that, because they didn't do anything. El Rabbi Yehuda Ma'iri Chatas Vil Oil Nami. Loma boy kamer. Loma boy oila dekolhi. So there's no question about an oila because it's completely burnt up. When it comes to even by a chatas in which the fats and the bloods are brought to the mizbeach, the idoch and the rest of the animal kohanim achile, they eat it. If you'll hachi gozer shoyer mizbeach oichel gezelos, you can say, well, what do you mean? The mizbeach isn't really being oichel gezelos. It's the kohanim that are, but there are things that are still put on the mizbeach. Okay, question 14. V'alchatas haguzula memnei tikkun mizbeach. Ha'im hu hadin lo oilo ma'astar mazeh. Is it also by a carbon ola? So according to Ula, he said it's totally beplugta. Lamad yavetitkanas mizbeach misham de kohanim atzavim, because their kohanim would be upset because they're eating chol shenik l'mazara. So in that case, an ola de kola lo shayach hatakana. A carbon ola is completely burnt up, so the kohanim didn't need anything, so you don't need to worry about it. However, because of takanas mizbeach sheyemer mizbeach oichel gezelis, so that's something which, of course, is applicable in this situation as well. Okay. Tanan. Al chatas hagazula. It says in our Mishnah, when someone brings a carbon chatas and was stolen, shloi naidel rabim, and wasn't publicized, shema chaperes, it's a kapar. They take on a mizbeach. Now bishlam ula nicha. I understand ula. El Rabbi Yehuda imcham meboyle. Should say the opposite. Hachinami kamer. Loi naida, if it was not known, mechaperes. Naida ein mechaperes. That if it was publicized, then it's not a kapar. They take on a mizbeach. Again, because we don't want people to to speak negatively about the Beis HaMikdash. Meis of Rabbi. So Rabbi asked a question. It says as follows: Gonav, a person stole something, and then the hikdish, and then he was makdish that which he stole, big tzaddik, and then afterwards he did tvicha mechira. Now, normally when it comes to tvicha mechira, now when it comes to geneva, there's an isser, it's a chi of kefel. You have to pay back double. However, if you steal it and then you shecht or sell it, then there's a din of dalad v'hei. You have to pay 4 or 5 times the value depending on the animal that you stole, if it's a shore or a set. So misham tashmi kefil v'in misham tashmi arba v'chemisha. In this case, you only pay the kefil, not the dalad v'hei, because the time that you did the zvicha and the mechira, it wasn't yours. It was already hektish. But since you did steal it, you stole it, so that you still have to pay the kefil. But Tanya law, and we learn regarding this situation. We learned regarding this, b'chutz ki haygavna anish kares. So it says, let's say you did, it says Rashi, ishachad b'chutz. Let's say you did the shechita outside, so the punishment is kares. Now, ki haygavna anish kares. The v'iyam on yish k'diloi kani, if you want to tell me that yish alone isn't a kinyan, so kares ma'avinte. So why is there a chiv kares? Shomrav shizbi kares midavarayhem. The requirement, the Isser Kares, the punishment is Durabanan. Look at Rashi. The Bishlam Indian Tashlumi Arba Bachamishalai Kashlon. I understand you don't pay the 4 and 5. The Yigomer, the Chiyamar Yish Kadilu Kani, when you say the Yish is not Kaina, Linian Hakrava Kaimar, regarding being makar of a carbon. V'lo Indian Hektish Kaimar. El Kares, when it comes to the din of Kares, says Rashi, if it's midaraisa, it's not fit for a carbon, right? It has to be, says right, because the Gemara Pesachim says haroli pesach ol moed chayven alav b'chutz midiachrina lo. The only time you're shaykh to be chayiv kares is dafka something that was shaykh to have been brought bifnim and you brought it b'chutz. But over here you shouldn't be chayiv kares because it's not something which was fit. So where it says no, it means kares midvarehim. So fine, that's it's only a rabbinic kares. So achichole, so they kind of scoffed upon this thought, and they said, kares midvarehim ika. What does that mean? Well, what do you mean kares midvarehim? What does that mean? It's either kares or it's not. So Amalahu Rava Gava Rabba Omer Milsa. So there was a great person that just said this. Okay. Lo tachuchu Allah. Don't laugh. Don't make jokes about it. Obviously, must be some validity to what he's saying. Kares sha'alidei divrehen batalo. It's kares that came through their words. It's really kares deraisa, but it's explaining it through his words that it's kares deraisa. But k'muhu rabbanan b'reshusei, namely that the rabbanan, even though you can say, well, it's not a kinyan, the Rabbanan will put it in his Rishus Allah in order that he should be Chayiv Kares. So even though it's not really Rishus Aganav, but we're going to consider it Rishus Aganav, the Rabbanan are going to institute that it's Ki'ilu, like it's his Kinyan, that now the Ganav owns it, so that in order that he should be Chayiv Deraisa Kares. It's not that that's a kares mid Rabbanan. It's saying that the Rabbanan instituted that this should be a kinyan to the Ganav in order that he should get kares. Rava, so havadi kameboili. This for sure is posed to me as a question. Kiakmu Rabbanan b'reshusei. When do the Rabbanan put into his rishus mishas keneva as at the time that he stole the object, or mishas hakdesha, or at the time that he was makdish it. So my nafkamina. So what's the difference? Ligizoiseha uvadaseha. When it comes to its shearings and its offspring, says Rashi, Tilifnei hektish niamrit b'shas geneva kaima. If you want to say that it's the time of the stealing, b'rshus in his rishus, gizisosehas didehu. Then if you would shear the wool, it's his. Then Misham eldame para, homedes leiled, vlodame parad uvlada. Then you would not pay for the value of the para you would only pay for a para which is omedes leiled, and not the value of a para in its offspring. So hadam arava mistaber mishas hakdesha, it's the time of hektish, So we're going to end up saying it's at the time of hektish because we don't want this guy to be able to benefit. And therefore, we're going to say no, he's not able to keep the shearings and the offspring, because by instituting that, you're going to end up making it in his favor. Okay, now we're going to see a series of Agadata which talk about the Chorban Habayis. Says the Mishnah, Mastisim, Lo hoya sikrikoin biyehuda baharugim milchama. There were no sikrikoin, or the dinim of sikrikoin, which we're going to explain in a second, did not apply in Yehuda during the siege of war. What is that referring to? Says Rashi, sikrikoin ovid kachavim. These are ovid kachavim that write seyach. There were a bunch of murderers. They threatened to kill people. Shenaisan lo yisrael karka. They bepidyan nafshay. They say, we're going to take your land or we're going to kill you. So what choice do you really have? So they take your land and that's it. So you forcefully take your land. V'amru lo sakarkazu v'al temiseni. They say, you know what? Take my land and please don't kill me. So this did not apply during the siege. Rashi says milchemes Titus. We're going to be seeing Titus Harasha, who was involved in the destruction together with the Romans of the second Beis HaMikdash. So during that time, these dinim didn't apply, which we're going to explain what that means. However, back in the Mishnah, meharugi hamachama ve'elach yeshva sikrikrain. However, after the siege, now was after the Chorban, from that point forward, there was a din of sikrikrain. So ketzad lokach masikrikrain. So what happened? You had these sikrikron. So they took land forcibly from a Jew. This was really Jew's land. So now a sikrikron has it, and a Jew purchases it from these murderers. Another Jew. And then, in addition to that, that same guy also bought and paid the original owner. So mekach batal. We say in that situation, it's not a mekach, says Rashi. The amrinan meir avad. The only reason why, so you say, well, I gave the money to this Jew, right, from a Jew to a Jew, so it must be that it was done willingly. No. The truth is, the only reason why he accepted the money from the Jew, and the only reason why he gave his land up to the Sikrikron, because he was afraid. Maybe he thought, you know what, let it be that the Sikrikron take it, because otherwise they're going to kill me. But now that the Jewish person has it, so now I'll be able to get it back. It's going to be easier for me to be able to get my land back from a fellow Jew than from these vicious people. And Rashi quotes the Gemara Moikila Deloy Kaslo Shtar. There's no star regarding this. Okay, there's no documentation to any of this. Back in the Mishnah, let's instead Mibal Habayis. What happened was you bought it from the Jew first. And then you bought it from the Sikrikron Mechel Kayim. So the fact that you purchased it from the Jew and then afterwards from the Sikrikron, obviously it shows that Jewish person was willing to sell his land to you, and therefore it's a good mekach. Okay, it says Rashi, Karka hamyuchedes l'ksuvas ishtoi. Okay. Lokach min ish. So it says, you purchased from a man land which was designated for ksuvas ishto, v'chaz v'lokach min isha, and then you, after you again had this land, which is really designated for a woman, and then afterwards you gave it v'lokach min isha, you end up purchasing from a woman, mechel batal. So in that case, it's not good. It says Rashi, the Amra nachasruach hasis labali. I really wasn't happy with this, but I was just trying to be nice to my husband. If you first purchased it from the woman and then from the man, so it's mekach kaim, because obviously we see from her behavior that she was willing to sell it. Zumish Rishayna. This is the first teaching. Based in Shel Achareihem Amru, the later court said, Halokech Masikrikoin, if you purchased again a Sikrikon confiscated land from a Jew, and Israel purchased it from the murderer, Naisin Labalim Riavia, then you should give 1/4 of the value to the original owner. Emosai, when do we say all this? Bisman she'en biyadan likach, when the original person has no money to buy it back. But if the original person had money to buy his land back, they come before everyone else. They have the first right to buy back their land. Rabbi Haishiv based in the Nimnushim Shohasa Mipnei Sikrikain Shnei Maser Chaydish. If let's say delayed 12 months, Kol Kaidim Likach Zacha. After those 12 months, anyone could get it. Avol Nice Labalam Ravia, but you still have to give the original owner a quarter of its value. Says the Gemara. So Hashda Baharugi Hamalcham Aloi Hayba Sikrikain. I don't understand. During the actual war, there was no dinim of Sikrikain. So why afterwards do we have all these laws? You would think that during the actual siege and the whole issue with the Romans, Vespasian and Titus coming and trying to destroy and successfully, that is the worst time for the Jews. So why is it didn't apply then but it applied afterwards? It's hard to understand. Says Rashi, Lo donu din sikrikain. Okay, let's actually see the Gemara first. Amar Yehuda lo donu ba din sekrikan. There's no halach of sekrikan. Kaimer. Diam Ravasi. Gilma gzeres gazru. Titus, and this is question TA23. Elu gilma gzeres gazru Titus from Eza gezera hechalu l'dain din sekrikan. There's 3 gezeras that Titus made, and which one does Sikrikon apply? So let's see. What were these 3 gezeras? They go in from very harsh to weaker. So what were they? So Gimel gezeras gozu. Gezerasa kamaisa, the original gezerah of Titus, kol doloi kotel leteluhu. Anyone who does not kill a Jew, we're going to kill you. Right? So pretty severe. Let's look at Rashi. Lo donu den Sikrikon. Let's actually finish this first. Back in the more. Mitziasa, the second gezerah of Titus, called the katul lesi arvazuzi. Anyone who kills a Jew, all right, you're not going to be punished, but you got to give $4. Basraisa, later on, the final gezerah is called the katul. Anyone who kills a Jew, liteluhu. You will be killed. So we see from if you don't kill, we're going to kill you. Second one is, we're not going to kill you, but you have to pay. Until finally, if you kill a Jew, then that's not acceptable. Hilkach, Kamaisa Mitziyasa, the first and the second gezer of Titus, of where we find that they could get away with killing a Jew. Kivad de Katli, since a Jew could potentially be killed, Agav Unse Gomer Machne. We say that the Jew actually gave up his land willingly. So the Sikrikon actually have a real kinyan over here because the Jew is willing to give up his land to save his life. Basraisa, however, the third one where his life is not in jeopardy, Amri, we say, Inna Lishko, the guy's thinking, you know what, let the non-Jew take the land from me now. And then tomorrow I'll take him to Beis Din. Namely, he's not going to kill me. He's not allowed to kill the Jew because he himself would also be killed. So I'll let him take my land, and I'll take him afterwards to court to get my land back. So in this situation, it's not considered to be a kinyan gomer. In that case, the Sikrikon do not have a kinyan. All right, let's see these Rashis. We're going to stop there. Lodonu din Sikrikon b'harugi hamalchama dikani legamri. That later on, it's not a real kinyan. Later on, after the siege. Therefore, someone who would take my land, mechukayim, that was before. That since you could be killed, it actually is a kinyan gomer. However, afterwards, which is the third gezer of Titus, as we just explained, that once the third gezer took place, a Jew is not scared that he's going to be killed because this guy knows that he's going to be killed if he kills a Jew. So therefore he says, you know what? Let him take my land, but it's not. I don't really feel that I've given up hope on getting my land back. Kol dolo kotel Yisrael kol heichen mishkachas. Anywhere you can find a Jew, if you don't kill him, l'tluhu, you'll be killed. Hilkach agav unsi, because you were being forced. Kiyamele sakar kazu, take this land. V'hanichi. You're giving it away wholeheartedly. But Kaimalon Tol b'zavin zvina zvina. There's a din, Baba Basra, that if you're tol b'zavin, if you forcefully make someone sell their land, it's still a good sale. And therefore, that is the case. Okay, question 23 again, the three gezeros as we stipulated. So when it comes to the first one and the second one, we say, so by the first one and the second one, it's a kinyan gomer. Over the last one, it is not considered to be a kinyan gomer. Adkan.